Hi everyone, it's Yvette Le Blowitz from SPAITGIRL.com and welcome to the Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast. I'm super excited to be here with you today and with our very special guest, Sally Bartlett, who is a menopause health coach. She is a #1 best-selling author on Amazon. Dammit, it is menopause. Meditations for women to achieve clarity and confidence beyond their wildest dreams. Volume 2, more damn it. It is menopause. I have to give Sandy from Happy Pause a very big shout out because she actually was the lady who introduced me to Sally Bartlett's incredible work. She also got Sally Bartlett's books into the While Away bookstore in Port Douglas, Queensland, Australia. Sally, welcome to the Spirit Girl podcast show. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Yvette. So nice to talk to you.
I'm so glad we're here. Sandy from Happy Pause will be super excited because she's an absolute fan of your work. And I also want to welcome our global audience. But before we dive into your books, are you happy to tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
I'm in California, US, and I have a dog that is sitting beside me. I'm just a champion for women. I really want women to live their best lives. I struggled with confidence a lot at different times during my life. And so I've just realized finally at some point that many women are in that same position and that we all need to support each other. And so that's just kind of what I'm doing now in my life. Full speed ahead.
When it comes to becoming a menopause health coach, this is not the average job that you would be at high school or primary school going, whoa, when I grow up, I want to be a menopause health coach. How did this journey unfold, Sally?
Well, as I mentioned, I struggled in my 20s and teen years actually with disordered eating and body confidence that was not great, and ended up working through that and doing a lot of inner work on myself. And from there, I just realized again that there was just a lot of women that needed that kind of help. So I worked in fitness for a long time, and I still do, and teach Pilates and just any kind of fitness. And I just began to work more and more with women, and then more and more with women over 50. And then even before I was 50 and before I was menopausal. And then when I did enter perimenopause, before I knew what it actually was, I just thought I was going crazy. It was an awful time for me. And then when I finally learned through research what was happening to my body and why the mood swing and the weird sweating in weird places and the hot flashes and the depression and the crying all the time just for no reason, I finally learned what that was. I thought, whoa, nobody's talking about this. And I don't know, I guess it's just my personality that when people don't talk about something that I feel needs to be talked about, I just say, okay, it's going to be me then. So I got credentialed as a health coach and kind of tailored it towards specifically that. And now I'm actually getting my master's now in organizational psychology so that I can tailor that to helping menopausal women in the workplace and even helping people in the workplace like men and others and young people to know like this is what this is, and to, not discard people or write them off just because they're at a certain age or going through a certain thing. And I'm kind of patterning the UK because they're kind of the front runner as I see it in this arena. I have great mentors there to pattern my work after.
When you experienced the hot flushes, what things did you find you could do at that time to help with those hot flushes? Are there any tips you want to share with the audience?
Well, I like to tell women that there are as many different solutions as there are women. And some women don't experience anything really for perimenopause, that period leading up to menopause. That's where the hormones start going down and going all around. And I experienced it in my early 40s is when it began. The first thing I tell women is, start looking around for resources. Don't expect your OBGYN to just go, oh yes, let me tell you what to do, because I read something from an organization we have in the US called AARP saying that something like 20% of OBGYN programs, only that many, have actual segments that train about menopause, which is shocking. While there are, by the year 2025, there are going to be something like 1 billion women worldwide that are postmenopausal. And so that doesn't line up. Just knowing that you're going to need to do some research, you're going to need to try a few things. I tried a lot of different things, different kinds of hormone replacement at the time. And I won't go into that. That's controversial still, I think, worldwide. I'm not a doctor. However, to trust that you're going to find solutions if you keep looking, keep talking about it, keep asking questions. And if your OBGYN tells you, oh, just deal with it and get over it, get another opinion. And if they say you need to go on antidepressants, I hear that a lot. I did that too. And that didn't really do anything for me. I discarded that idea for me pretty quickly. I still get hot flashes. This is what I do now. I kind of go into my head and I try to breathe deeply and I say, you know what, Sally, this is a sign that you've got a lot of energy to devote to some important things in your life still. And I kind of have just been saying that because I used to say like, oh no, what is wrong with me? This is gross. I'm gross. And that was my initial, what is happening? And so I don't do that anymore. I say something in my head to myself, or sometimes out loud if I'm alone. That means I have a lot of positive energy to use in a positive way.
I love that. Those words of wisdom will help so many of our listeners. And even I'm like, wow, that's such a great kind approach to it, and how you were able to change your self-talk and your inner voice and the way you treat yourself with compassion has been able to help you accept that these hot flushes are part of life as a woman. When it came to the mood swings, what did you find worked there? Because I know you're big on journaling. Was that part of the process?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I talk about the mood swings a lot. There's even an entry talking about kicking the dog bowl across the floor in front of my husband and son and just being mortified. Like, was that me? Did I just do that? And it wasn't just a little kick. It was just like a kick across the kitchen floor. And I was just, that's not me. And so I did end up doing a lot of writing about those kinds of things and just have found a lot of solace and solution in writing, all kinds of expressive writing. And I talk about that in the book too, with different kinds of gratitude lists that I do, or different kinds of ways to get in touch with the critical voice, and then turning it over into the compassionate voice. I've used lots of writing techniques. My online course, I have worksheets about how to do that. And I even have freebies on my website that you can print a little mini workbook that you can walk you through that.
And your website, sallybartlett.com.
Yes, that's
Perfect.
it.
That's incredible. When it came to writing your book, Dammit, It Is Menopause, how did this process unfold?
Well, as I was saying before, when I finally figured out through my wonderful GP, as you call them, it was perimenopause that I was experiencing. And then I was like, I've got to write a book. And I don't know, Yvette, I don't know where that voice came from. I've never had that voice tell me you've got to write a book before. Maybe you had this when you wrote your book, but it just said, you've got to write a book. And so I was, okay, I'm going to write a book. And that's what I did. And I wrote it over the course of maybe 15 years, because as I was going through my own journey, I was in my early 40s. Then I kept writing. And then when I hit 50 was when my period stopped. So then I'm postmenopausal now. And now I'm 61. I got pretty far in the book. And then I didn't have the confidence to go through with it and publish it. This happened a lot of times where I would just go, no, the book is off. I'm not doing the book. It's silly. Who would want to read that? And then something would happen and the voice would go, no, you've got to write the book. Look at this woman you just met in the grocery store that's talking about hot flashes and she doesn't know what it is, or weight gain or whatever. And so I would be, okay, the book's back on. And then, so when COVID hit, fast forward to COVID, something inside me said, now's the time. If you don't do it now, because I lost all my clients coming into my house to do coaching and that kind of thing in person. So you have the time, Sally, now's the time. So do it. So I got the help I needed and I published, and I've never done it before. And now I'm working on book 3, which is the companion workbook / journal that goes with the 2 books to help people who want to pursue their own journaling and have some guidance.
Congratulations. That is such an incredible author story. And congratulations on your books for being #1 bestseller in so many categories on Amazon. Like the list is from aging to well-being. I mean, the list goes on and on in all of the different categories.
12-step programs, addiction issues, diabetes.
Yeah, it's incredible. And the books, I have to say, are so beautiful and heartfelt. And even if I go to page 163, I love how you talked about the negative self-talk part 1. Here's what's my head saying. Just eat that last piece of cake. Your son's party will suck on Friday. I don't even want to write in my journal today because I don't want to deal with reality. I keep saying, you don't need to be writing a book about PM. Besides, no PM women want to hear about you being all whipped up. And then you go on to my critical voice. Dear Sally, just eat the cake. You weigh too much and your food is all over the place. You will gain all your weight back. Your son's party is going to be a flop. No one wants to hear what you have to say. No one cares how you feel or what you think. You have no value whatsoever. And then you have my compassionate voice. Dear Sally girl, the son's party will turn out just the way it needs to be. The only important thing is that your son enjoys himself. I love you whether you eat the cake or not. I know you are sad today about being perimenopausal when your plan was to have children. I have really great things planned for you. Please keep your eyes open so that you don't miss them. Always remember, God loves you so much, he can't take his eyes off you. I really love that because it's a dialogue and I think we can all resonate with it. Even I could resonate with it about the piece of cake. Do I have the piece of cake? Should I have the piece of cake? What if I eat the piece of cake? I'll put on weight. Oh, will I lose that weight? Oh, maybe I should eat the piece of cake. I think we can all resonate with that. And then it's just like, just eat the piece of cake. Life's so short.
Yes.
You'll be right, girl. Enjoy the moment.
If it's good, enjoy that frosting.
You sat down, you wrote the book. Were you just blown away when you put these on Amazon and then they just took off and people just started buying them and giving you feedback of what they thought about the books? How does that feel to now be that #1 Amazon bestseller author?
It hasn't really sunk in. My main goal was not to be #1, but my goal was to help as many women as possible. And I think that a lot of women have the same thing where I feel this calling in me like, no, bigger, go bigger, go bigger. I wanted to be in this little tiny little world where it was safe and I was not vulnerable to criticism. And I don't know, that voice inside me, you could call it God, whatever you want to call it, but keeps saying like, no, you need to spread this word bigger worldwide. And I'm just, are you sure? I don't think so. So that's all I really want, is to just help as many women as possible to realize their incredible value.
I love that. And I love how your books are personal story, very vulnerable. Then you also have like the wacky gratitude list, journal writing to avoid that, baseball. There are so many practical tips. You go through embracing cramps. Yelling is not a spiritual solution. My boobs hurt. I have cramps. I'm too hot. And it's only 8 a.m. I feel nauseous. My son kept pushing me to get a stuffed animal for him and I just snapped. I yelled, no, as loud as I possibly could and went out into the garage. I felt immediate shame for my behavior. It just gives us such incredible insight to that journey you had. And I think if someone is going through that, they'll be able to go, wow, okay, so it's just not me.
I wrote the book that I wish I had to read when I was going through it, that I could go, yes, I feel that way. I felt that way. And it's not the end of the world. And I am going to pick up the pieces, figure out where to go with this and move through it. And my life is not over. And that's why, I mean, I kind of split it in half. And so book one, the blue one, is more about just getting it all down. Like, what is going on? Why are my boobs hurting all the time? And why is it waking me up, like 2 or 3 in the morning every morning, and the cramps and the weird periods and all those things? Why is that happening? So that's the first book. And then coming to a term like, okay, this is happening. And then the second book, the greenish one, is more about, okay, now that this is happening, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Because many women are at a point of retirement or change of careers or whatnot, and they might not have the confidence based on the hormone fluctuation to really pursue something that could really bring a lot to the world. So the second book, if you're saying like, oh, I don't need this book because I'm done with menopause, the second book is more about kind of like saying like, what are you going to do with your life? You've got a lot of mad skills, girl. What are you going to do with it? You're not going to, people say to me like, well, I thought about doing, this thing, but I don't really want to do it. And they get really small. And I'm like, no, I think that's fantastic. What can you do? How can you get that started?
I love that. Sally, you're 61. You look amazing. Everyone has to go to the Spirit Girl YouTube channel so you can see how amazing Sally looks. She's glowing. She does not look 61, put it that way. I know a lot of women have these hidden dreams, these things that they dreamed about, but they haven't done it because maybe they got married and had kids or didn't have the money or access. And really, when even in my mum's era growing up, there was no social media technology, the convenience to be able to create businesses from home or online, or to even formulate community on a topic that you love, whatever that might be, whether that's menopause or cooking or craft or books. There is such an endless opportunity for women. And I love how you are championing them and inspiring them to go, you know what? You might be 81, but you still got a book in you. You go, girl. Or like whether you're 71 or 75, like it's not too late. I always say, as long as you've got your breath, you still got it in you. So you've still got that opportunity to create your dream. So I love how you are doing that and you're empowering women to love themselves more. If there is someone tuning in today, our listeners, and they feel like they're always comparing themselves with others on Instagram, or they're really being harsh on themselves by the way they look, and they're beating themselves up when it comes to their body image, can you share any words of wisdom with them just to help them accept themselves?
When I was in a bigger size body, like 35 years ago, I tried every diet. It never worked. I tried every form of exercise and over exercising and all that. And the thing that finally worked for me was to accept myself exactly where I was, the size I was. And then, okay, that's a mental thing, but I needed a tangible thing as well. I was so mean to myself back in those days. I would say like, well, you can't get any new clothes until you're a certain size, or I had horrible like rules and regulations in my head. It was a bad place to be in here. Tangible thing that I did, got rid of my scale, and I bought myself 2 outfits that fit me at that time, which was bigger than the size that's carried in a regular store, because I wouldn't even let myself do that. That's how hard on myself I used to be. It's really vulnerable to admit that, but that's how I was. And that was in my 20s. So that was a huge turning point for me, was to say like, you know what, Sally girl, I love you just the size you are. Even if it's the most you've ever weighed in your life, I love you. I'm going to buy you. I didn't have a whole lot of money. I just bought things that I could afford, 2 outfits, and I would just alternate them one day and one the next day. And they weren't big, huge things that hid my body. They were things that actually fit me, and they were colors I like. That was the first step for me. And that was a very significant turning point. And I didn't diet. I did a lot of journaling, and the portions became smaller and the choices became more nutritional slowly over time. And it took me, over a year to become the size that I am now. And I have been ever since. And even through pregnancy and perimenopause and menopause and all that, I don't know what I weigh because I don't weigh myself, but I still fit in my clothes, let's just say. Even though, well, things change in menopause. This is the other thing the point I wanted to make is be open-minded and be willing to completely change your lifestyle when you become menopausal, because I thought I was doing pretty well with food choices and attitude and everything. But then with all the hormone shifting, I kind of had to do it all over again. Like Madonna, Madonna rechanges herself all the time. I thought I had a great thing going and I was going to be set for life with how I ate and the amounts of food I ate and all that. And I had to change it all again, sometimes subtle, sometimes not so subtle ways, but just the being open took me a while to open my mind to like, yeah, you're going to have to look at things a little differently now.
In my 20s, I could pretty much eat whatever I wanted. I exercised, my metabolism was really fast. In my 30s, mediocre metabolism. In my 40s, which I'm now 44, bong bong. Whatever I eat, it's slowing down. Yes, okay, so whatever I eat, I can't eat like I was when I was in my 20s and 30s. And I'm just having to learn to accept with this aging process, these hormones, that I've got to eat like a bit of a 40-year-old now, which means healthier choices, healthier proportions. What are some of the foods that you like to eat?
I like to eat a lot, kind of a Mediterranean style, lots of dark leafy greens and, nothing really extreme. I do enjoy chocolate chip cookie once in a while as much as anyone else. I don't have any banned foods, but I try to front load with water and vegetables every day. So that's kind of the way I've been eating for years and years, is instead of thinking like, well, what am I going to have for lunch? I think I'll have tuna salad or whatever. I think first of what's the vegetable going to be. And then I build the meal around that. And then the proportions are more about the veggies than about the size of the protein. So there's a protein and a starch. That's kind of how I do it. But knowing full well, I say that 75% of the time. And then the other, sometimes there is fast food, but there might be less than there used to be too. Like if someone's having fries, I might be saying like, hey, can I have 2 fries or can I have a bite of your pancakes? And there's just no bad foods. Food is not good or bad. It's just food. It's not a moral issue. And, if I feel like eating something that's going to make me have a hard time moving in the morning because it makes me have joint inflammation, I just have to write about it, give yourself some grace there. And maybe there was a feeling you were afraid about something coming up. And I just look at the feelings and then I'm usually happy to get back to my veggies.
When it comes to your exercise, what does that look like for you?
That's another good topic for perimenopause, because I've been an exerciser my entire life. I played sports as a younger girl and my whole adult life, and I've worked in fitness for so many years. So I love exercise. So some people don't love exercise, but for me, I actually needed to cut back on my exercise. And it was recommended by Dr. Wendy Sweet. She's in New Zealand. She is the one that said to me, you're going to need to cut back on your exercise because you look at your sleep first. How are you sleeping? Because if you're exercising, especially like weightlifting or anything really strenuous, your body heals and mends in your sleep. And so if you're not sleeping, you're never healing. You're jacking up your cortisol. That's not a technical term. You're not doing good things for your body by exercising. I really had to cut back initially. And still to this day, I don't do nearly the extreme exercise I used to do. But what a lot of women mistakenly do is they say, the weight is coming on, it's not coming off. I need to bump up my exercise to solve the problem. And really that just makes it worse. So in other women who are avid exercisers, they may realize at the time when they become perimenopausal, this isn't as fun as it used to be. And that happened to me. I got such a big high off exercising. I love exercising, anything, weightlifting, cardio, you name it. And all of a sudden it wasn't quite so fun anymore. So I do still do weightlifting, to be sure, because it is important. And I do cardio and I bike ride and I weightlift, I do Pilates, but it's just smaller increments, I'd say, to be sure.
Do you try and move your body 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes, instead of extensive hours of training?
Yes. I used to love, say, an hour bike ride or something like that. Now I do literally a 10 to 12-minute bike ride with my dog running beside me. And I do that almost every day. And I do like a 20-minute walk. And it's not a crazy, I can't even talk to you kind of a walk. It's, we get going, but I do that. And then I'll lift weights. Now, this is not for everyone, but I'll do maybe 10 minutes. I did a little bit while I was waiting to come on here, just because I had a sec, and just fit it in wherever. I want to encourage women who don't like to exercise. You could just keep a set of 10-pound dumbbells or 5-pound dumbbells. They're right over there on the shelf. I'm pointing to them. And if you've got 10 minutes in your day, or you're on hold with somebody to get your dishwasher fixed, this is a true story, you can just pump some iron right then. It doesn't have to be this perfect superset planned out thing. You just need to get something done, make it be imperfect.
I love that. If you just need to get something done, make it be imperfect. That's the greatest words of wisdom. I too have the dumbbells, and I too have my yoga mat out. And even before I hit the record on this podcast, I had to get that 30-minute walk in minimum, because I know I just feel so much better. I too, Sally, have over exercise where I got totally addicted to exercise. Like I was like jogging up a hill, walking down, jogging up again. I mean, it was really intense, full on. But then I burnt out from over exercise. What have you loved most about now coaching women?
I'd have to say I love seeing the light come on in their eyes. They share amazing things. Like one woman I was working with, she never mentioned anything about alcohol being an issue. She kept talking about her weight, which we talked about, dealing with the feelings. But then she made a recording for me and said, I feel so much better and I don't need to drink anymore every day. And that was never even mentioned in the beginning as a problem. So things like that just make me tear up, just to see somebody realize, like, peel away some of the layers of the onion and what's underneath, and really getting to see that and live life and be available for the people you love.
I love how you talked about seeing the light come on. Do you think it's really important to surround yourself with other women or people who lift you up?
Yes.
Support you, who are positive?
Yes, absolutely, 100%, which is why I envision like this community of women who lift each other up. And I've really found that in social media, believe it or not. It may sound surprising because there's so many people that have trouble with comparison in social media, but I've really sought out those women, and you're one of those women who I love your comments you send me and I send you, and it's just that there's nothing like that. Women just need to unite all over the world. I'm so grateful to know you and Sandy Davies from Happy Paws, and just many more women like that. It's beautiful. So helpful.
Yeah. You're so right. This is incredible that we can connect and meet each other online, literally. When I was a little kid, you'd have to select a pen friend.
Yes.
And you'd have to send it off and pay to actually have a pen friend from America. And then you'd have to wait 3 months for the pen friend selection to come back. And you'd hope someone would select you to be their pen friend. And then you'd write a letter, and then it would go off. And then 3 months later, a letter would come back. Why do you love meditation so much?
But a meditation book to me for years has been about, I'll give the credit to Melody Beattie. She's an author in the US. I don't know if you've heard of her. She wrote many books, but the one that really comes to mind for me is called The Language of Letting Go. And it's not a new book. It's been around for a while. In her book, she has 365 entries, and they're just little stories about her life. And then she kind of says what she learned from that at the end of the story. And her books are primarily, they're for codependent people, but they're also for just any kind of addiction. And so I've come from a long line of addiction in my family. And so I won't go into that. That's another story. But so these books have always comforted me and helped me keep my perspective. So I wanted a book that's like that, that's for perimenopausal women. You might notice the two books combined equal 365. If you buy both books, you'll get a whole year's worth of thoughts so you can kind of change your thinking, hopefully, for the better.
I love this. And I just opened this book. I'm very big on synchronicity, signs. It says, "Dear God, help me remember to keep an open mind about new technology. Give me the ability to be patient with myself as I learn a new skill. It's never too late." And that's even for me, because I grew up with no telephone, even in the house. The only opportunity I had to use the telephone was if I got on my little push bike and rode down the main street and put in like 20 cents, or then it went up to 30 cents and 40 cents. And then in primary school on Friday afternoon, the lady in the office would leave after lunch. And I loved it, because what that meant was I actually would hear the phone ring and I'd leave the class. I'd go tearing out of the class in grade 7 and go and pick up that phone and say, "Oh, good afternoon, St. Coleman's School, Yvette speaking." And the teacher would be like, "Where's Yvette gone?" "Oh, she's gone to answer the phone." "Oh, okay." And then I'd take their name and number and write it down and say, "Oh, our office lady isn't here at the moment. She's gone home." But see, because I had no phone, I was so excited to answer the phone. Friday afternoons for me was the best afternoon of my life, answering the phone. What I've learned, Sally, is that even I now with some of these apps go, what's this? What's that? That really summed up, just be patient with yourself when learning a new skill.
Yes. And don't worry if you can't see the whole picture. Like, okay, I want to do this. Well, but how am I going to do this part? And what about this part? And don't worry about that. But I want to invite anyone listening to dare to write down the thing right now on a little piece of paper, on a napkin, whatever you've got. Just write down that thing that you have never said out loud that you think you might like to do. And then if you've already done that, maybe tell someone if you've never told anyone about it. And that's kind of what I did. And then also the other little thing I would encourage is that it's beautiful, not only linking together with all women, even younger women, because I've had some beautiful younger women, 30-year-olds, and in there help me with technology. The universe presented them to me once I said it out loud. This is what I want to do. I don't have any idea. There's going to be like 47 steps in between here and there, and I have no idea how to do them, but just start moving in that direction.
Why do you love Pilates so much?
When I learned about Pilates, I had already been a personal trainer and group fitness instructor for many years. So it wasn't my first thing I did. And I put it off for a long time because I thought, you know what? Pilates is for snooty, rich people. And I don't even know where I got that. I had just had this contempt prior to investigation. So finally I said, Sally, open your mind and just take one instructor training course. And it wasn't at all what I thought it was. And it was, so that was number one, which happens to me all the time, that I think something and I don't even know what I'm talking about. And then I investigated. I thought it was for like prissy girls, and I'm more like a jock. And so it's both. It makes me feel beautiful, strong, kick butt, and it's a vacation from my brain that never shuts off, all at the same time. So it's kind of calms my nervous system, but you get an incredible workout. So it's all that all rolled into one.
Wow. So, I love that. I think it was perceived for city people. You wouldn't have been walking into a Pilates studio in the outback Australia, put it that way. But we did think it was for the hoity-toity in the Sydney city. So I've done Pilates actually in Sydney, and I went to a beautiful bar body studio in the city, and it was amazing. But I tell you what, it was hard. And I was thinking maybe this is why I haven't been coming, because it's so hard. But it was a really, really good workout. Sally, I could talk to you forever. Literally, we could have had a couple of hours podcast show, and I could have probably brought Sandy on from Happy Pause. It's just been incredible to catch up. I just love your beautiful, heartfelt messages, and I just want to read this one. But dear Yvette girl, the universe is using you in a powerful way. Keep going. Love, Sally. And I really love this message I want to read to all of our listeners from Sally, to all women who are at any stage of menopause, you are not alone. That to me was just so beautiful. If you read nothing else in the book but that was the key take home from your beautiful book. Dear Yvette, keep listening to your gut. It is right on. Love, Sally. These books are just so beautiful, Sally. Like, I'll treasure these forever. And I think that you can just come back to them at any point in time. Whilst you can read it in sequence, I feel that if you're just going through a really shitty, crappy day and you just even opened it on one thing and let your spirit guide you, that just opening it can help as well. But it's just a really beautiful book. I'm going to give them to my mum also to read in lead up to Christmas, but it's such a beautiful gift if you know anyone that's going through perimenopausal stage or menopause, or if you have been through menopause and you just want to live your own dreams, volume 2 is for you. I've had a lot of women reach out that are in their 40s going through this whole perimenopausal thing and wondering, what? They thought that only happened in the 50s or the 60s, later on in life. No one had that planned.
No, I sure didn't.
So it's sort of blindsided a few of us. What is your hope for your newfound book readers? What is your hope for them?
I just want them to know that they're not alone. I want them to be comforted by that fact the way I was. That's what I wrote it for the book that I would have wanted.
I love it.
There was no book that I knew of at that time. So I want that book to be that for you.
Love the message. I love how easy it is to read, simplicity. I love the size, actually. It's a really cool handbag size. So if you're going on a little holiday, we're coming into the Christmas festive season. I'm hoping everybody gets a few days off and they can be on their couch or by the pool. I mean, you guys are going to be going into winter.
So
we're going into summer. Awesome time to read books, of course, by the pool, but you're going into winter, which is even a better time to be reading books. Your little hot chocolate on your couch or cozy up. So, Sally, how can we stay in touch with you after the podcast show?
You can go to sally@sallybartlett.com. For if you want to email me, or just sallybartlett.com is my website. You can contact me through there. I'm on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is just @IamSallyBartlett. And I have a Facebook group that anyone can join. You have to apply or whatever. It's not everybody can get in. So it's called Menopause and Living Your Best Life. And this group is got about 400 people. It's not huge, but this is only women who want to work on confidence and self-esteem and reducing anxiety around this time of their lives. So it's a really special, smaller group. And I go on there once a week and do a Motivational Monday for about 5 minutes. And we have other talks on things like pain-free movement and things like that. So calming your nervous system. It's a really special small group. So we'd welcome anyone to join. We have people in there from all over the world.
Sally, thank you for all of the work you do to help women, especially going through perimenopausal and menopause, because you give so much.
I really want to take this message into the workplace. So if anyone who's listening has a position at work where they are able to bring in a guest speaker, I would love to talk to you about how we could bring something to do with even just mental health in the workplace. Bring that into your workplace. I'd love to present in a virtual fashion or in person or whatever.
Because you are obviously a motivational speaker, and you speak to midwives, you speak to corporate people. You've been doing this. You're a speaker on menopause, mental health, looking after yourself. So you are incredible to speak about menopause and mental health and well-being, journaling and all of those incredible things. So I definitely encourage everyone who's tuning in, if you are looking for a speaker in 2022, it'd be incredible to get the conversation out there about menopause, because the more 40-year-olds club people I'm speaking to, we just didn't even know this was going to be coming. I don't know. They mustn't have taught us this at school. They missed this part about the aging process at high school. Had they done their job, Sally, we would have known that possibly in the 40s, 50 clubs, this was all coming. So maybe you could bring out a course for the school or the university. This is going places. I agree, Sally. There's going to be some incredible Aussie people and people globally who can benefit from you talking through your personal experience, through your coaching and your books and all of the work you do. I'm so grateful we got to have this conversation. So thank you again, Sally.
Thank you so much.
Well, we will say officially goodbye to Sally Bartlett. And I want to thank all of our global audience and listeners for tuning in to this week's Spirit Girl Talk Show podcast with myself and Sally. And I truly, truly hope it has helped you learn more about perimenopausal stages of life. I hope it gives you more of an insight into menopause, but also into a belief that, like Sally, that if you want to write a book, you can. If you want to start a new hobby, a passion, if you want to feel better, you can. And you are not alone. And I think that was the most important message to come out of this podcast is definitely this: you are not alone. Be sure to subscribe, to leave a 5-star rating and review, and to tell someone you love to. And together, let's feel good from within.